Welcome back to another video, and today we'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Welcome back, and it's that time of the week or 2-week period again when we are going to be discussing some of the newest makeup announcements. And FYI, there's gonna be a lot of Valentine's things in this video, so we are definitely in the Valentine's season. Also, a general announcement for those of you who do live in within Europe. So Monolith Shop had their launch during the Sunday that I'm filming this, so I think by the time this video goes live it's already going to be probably already midway to the next week. But Monolith Shop did have their launch. I did end up getting, actually I did have to do a bit of like, how should I say, there was quite a lot that I wanted to get, but then I had to consider that because there was a lot of Valentine's releases that I'm not getting too much of the same same color. So what happened with the Monolith launch is that I did end up getting the Blend Bunny plastic palette, and actually I did end up ordering my first Bella Beauty bar palette. So they had the, what was it actually called? It was Rose something was the Dead Roses, yeah. So I ended up getting the plastic palette from Blend Bunny and the Dead Roses from Bella Beauty bar, because the Dead Roses palette was actually something, it's like a palette from last year, but during the last year I do remember that there were like other palettes that I wanted to put my money on, and also the Dead Roses palette, it actually ended up launching on Monolith Shop like after the Valentine's season was over, so I was kind of like thinking that okay, it's kind of past the season. But now because Monolith had their launch before the Valentine's, and obviously because it was an older palette, so it was basically just a restock, so I thought that okay, now I'm gonna try the Bella Beauty bar brand out, and because this is probably the first, like, only color story so far that I've been at least interested with the brand, so excited about that one. I also did end up ordering the Cosmic Brushes, sorry, not Cosmic Brushes, it's Cosmic Beauty now, so I did end up ordering the Cosmic Beauty Lovers palette. That's probably gonna take some longer to get here because it's gonna be coming from the UK, and I didn't want to spend extra money on expedited shipping. The Monolith order should come pretty fast apparently, because now they are only doing like express shipping to their orders, basically, at least to my country. There wasn't like any option. There was only like the DHL express shipping. I was like thinking that okay, great, and I didn't have to pay like extra. I didn't order over the free shipping threshold, but basically I think I paid the same amount of money from the express shipping that I would have previously paid from the normal shipping. So I'm not mad about it, and pretty happy to get at least the Monolith palettes on time. There's quite a few palettes here that there's actually one palette still coming on this video that we're gonna talk about, and I'm gonna see that if that's gonna come to our country in stores, that I'm still a bit saving my budget for that one. But anyway, that's a very long intro. As I said, a lot of Valentine's things, also other things coming in this one, but let's start talking about the products that have been announced and released. Okay, first a collection that I'm probably gonna be admiring from afar, because I do know this is gonna be expensive. So Chanel is apparently going to be coming out with a second spring collection. We have discussed Chanel's spring collection like some time ago, because I do think that was already like leaked during the end of last year. I actually did spot that the Chanel spring collection is already in our department stores. I checked, they had the face squad and then some of the other items, but I discussed already in my video that the shades in the face squad and the colors of the items, they had kind of this mint color and lilac color in them, but the individual items, they weren't attractive. However, a lot of things in this one are attractive, but I do think that because there's just so many things now coming out that I'm kind of interested in, or I have already bought them, I think this is going to be a skip purely because there's just other things. So this is apparently called the Camellia collection, and the quint and the blush, those are beautiful. Those are like absolutely beautiful. I can't fault them. Even some of the lip products are looking nice, and I'm usually not I can spend money on a high-end lip product, but I don't think these would offer anything new to my collection in general. But the blush and the quint, and even the quint colors. I mean, look at basically the quint colors. There's like a pop of red in it, and then there's like these quite taupey brownish shades, and I haven't actually tried Chanel's eyeshadow quality. I have heard pretty mixed reviews about that. Some of these apparently are very good, especially if you look any luxury brand review channels, and some of these are apparently very terrible, so apparently it's very hit and miss. So this is a very beautiful collection. I assume because we are seeing the full collection that this is going to be something that's going to be coming to stores very soon. It can again take some time depending where you live, but I'm gonna like give Chanel 10 out of 10 for the design and for the products, but I'm just gonna probably have to skip this for the reason that there's so many other things that I either have already spent my money on or I want to spend my money on. Then something that I had seen sneak peeks about, but now we have the whole collection. So Dede's Signature revealed their Blush and Glow collection. So basically they have a highlighter and then 2 different blush palettes. These look very beautiful, like blush shade, especially I think to more tan to deeper skin tones. And I do know, because Dede's Signature is a woman of color owned brand, that these are probably designed for women of color, first and foremost. So I think for me these would, like, even though I do enjoy a quite punchy blush, but I do think for me just some of the shades are quite deep. So for me this is a skip, but especially if you have like Dede's Signature, and I'm always again happy to see indie brands expanding beyond eyeshadow palettes, so I'm very happy for them about this launch, but this is going to be a skip for me. Catrice came out with another limited edition collection. This is already available at least on Bougie Shop's website, so this is the Profusion collection. Nothing in this caught my eye. This was a very, I kind of like the idea of pearl themed collection, but everything in this is just meh. The eyeshadow sticks are meh. Actually the eyeshadow sticks and some of these items look a bit like even cheap in the, for Catrice, that is a cheap brand, but the packaging for some reason isn't appealing for me, and I think like the only thing that would have maybe been interested about was maybe some of the highlighters, but it's a pretty meh collection altogether. I do think Catrice has done more interested limited edition collections, so this is an easy skip. So these currently have been first launched in Europe, and I actually think one of our department stores might have put these out before they were actually announced, because I do think when the blushes came out, then I spotted that, hey, what are those highlighters? So YSL has now come out also highlighters in this same kind of series that they have done now their bronzers and their blushes in. The highlighters are in the square packaging, so it's similar to the bronzer ones. I actually remember that I was actually wishing for a highlighter in this series, so looks like, well, obviously I think they might have planned this all along, that they're gonna do a whole line of cheap products. These are hideously expensive, so these are like, the individual highlighter is like somewhere around like over 50 euros. So again, considering just how many other things there's been that I've been spending my money on or I still want to spend my money on, I think unfortunately the highlighters are gonna get a push down. So if I'm gonna miraculously get like more money from somewhere, the like extra money to spend, then this could be like an extra thing that I would maybe like spoil myself with. But I'm not in a hurry to buy this, and I assume these highlighters are now a staple line product for them, so I can appreciate these, and these highlighters, I do like the packaging. There isn't that many shades, there's actually only 3 ones, so maybe they could have come out maybe with more shades, but for me, I can appreciate this, but it's a no at this point. Another product that is a no at this point, so Natasha Denona has come with high blushes, so this is apparently a cream blush duo that has a more highlighting shade on the other side, and then there's a blush shade on the other side. I do like these, but I have quite a few Natasha Denona blushes in their like mini, sort of like these minis that she has come out with before. I do think that it was about time that she came out with a somehow stable blush like line within her line, because previously she has had those very big palettes that were expensive, and then she has come out with different kind of minis in different kind of formulas with individual collections, but Natasha Denona really hasn't had a stable blush collection. I'm now waiting that are we gonna maybe see bronzers, because those are also kind of missing in her line. But these are already available on Natasha Denona's website and actually in most of other places that retail her. This could be something that I could throw into my cart if I will be ordering from her website in the future. I assume again that this isn't going to be a limited edition thing, but I think after the last couple of years I'm a bit blushed out currently, so I'm not also in a super hurry to get new blushes. So I think if she would have come out with these last year, I think these would have been much more like well received. Like I have seen like people like reviewing these, but I don't think there's as maybe much hype around these as maybe if she would have come out with these last year or the year before when blush was very much in. So I don't usually cover skincare in my sort of makeup renews video, but I think this was worth, because this was like first time that Pat McGrath actually came out with something. I'm thinking that wow, is she getting back to her roots? So Pat McGrath has really has launched this sort of Glass 001 self-fetish glass peel-off artistry mask. And based on the promo pictures that I've seen, this really gives you like a effect that you had basically like a glass layer over your face. It's actually a bit almost like creepy in one way when I've seen some of the people using this. This is apparently inspired by a runaway look that she did for a fashion show. That's not something that I'm that interested in, so I don't remember which one was it, but this is like the first time that I looked also that, hey, that's kind of something interesting and different and something we definitely, because I think Pat McGrath has been suffering during the like last couple of years that the launches have been very uninteresting, and a lot of people have been like writing already Pat McGrath off as a brand that's maybe not like going to be around that much longer, or maybe she's looking to sell the brand because the releases haven't been that exciting. But this is definitely like exciting because this is truly something different. I'm not gonna be getting this. I'm a person who this sort of super glowy products usually don't work out, but like I'd be very curious to see with someone someone to review this and actually see that is it like really that effective as some of the like promo materials are making this to look like. Then with Essence we're actually gonna go 2 releases at once, so finally there is like, I have now a cohesive list of like the sort of Essence's winter spring edit stuff. These have been things that have been trickling down around the internet, but I had like difficulties finding this all in one place. So buckle up. So with the Essence's winter spring release, there's quite a lot. There's a foundation stick. We have now this sort of baby cut bronze in a shimmery versions. There's apparently a eye brightener now. There are a couple of new highlighters. I wasn't a fan of the baby cut holo highlighter in the, was it fall edit during the last year, that was like Vaseline and sparkles on your cheek, so something I definitely would not be interested in. We have lip products. There's actually quite a lot of lip products, more lip products. Then there are these sort of soft touch mousse blushes. I have been actually trying out one of the, I actually did end up doing something a bit exceptional, which is the fact that I actually ended up buying items from the limited edition chocolate collection that Essence came out in the beginning of January, because that was like the first limited edition collection that I think ever that also got my interest. And in that collection there was actually a blush that was in kind of similar packaging that these mousse blushes, so I'm unsure if the formula of the one blush that was in the chocolate collection that isn't similar, or is it different from the ones that were now in the sort of like update. There were some brow products and setting sprays. Those setting sprays have actually been, I have featured those before, so apparently those were indeed a new product. Tinted lip and cheek product. Then they had these highlighting drops. There's a silky blur primer. There's a brown mascara, because brown mascara has been one of those products that have been pretty trendy. I already discussed when I reviewed the Catrice Winter Spring update on my channel that I actually chose to skip the Essence update completely, because there wasn't just anything that interesting. The Silky Blur Primer would be something perhaps that when these become available in our country, it usually takes a bit more time for these to come, because usually these are first released in Central Europe and then they start trickling down. So maybe the primer could be something that I might get at some point when these come to our country, but just generally there just wasn't like that many interesting items in this launch, so altogether the update was a meh for me. There's some products that I don't know when these are going to be launching. So apparently there's going to be some Cloud Blush Crush, and these are in so kind of looking new shades because these have cloudy packaging. They have these blush crushes in this see-through plastic packaging. They launched those in the, I think that was spring edit last year. But these have kind of different kind of packaging, they have different kind of embossing and the shades look kind of different. And then they also have these Juicy Plump plumping lip glosses. There isn't actually a lot of information like from when these are gonna be out and are these actually available anywhere. The blushes do look kind of interesting. I do think some of these are maybe because some of these have the ombre effect and some of the shades are quite pale. I'm thinking that are these trying to maybe imitate some like K-Beauty blushes that we have seen, but these are different than the Blush Crush blushes that they have launched before, but with these one unfortunately there's like very little information. I haven't actually seen anywhere these would have launched yet. So Valentine's, Gourmande Girl has launched the Bitten palette. So this was available on Monolith Shop's launch during this weekend, and this was already available on their website. This was one of the palettes that I was eyeing, but then because I did end up getting the Bella Beauty Bar palette that had also quite a lot of like reds and purple leaning shades, that is why I ended up skipping this one. I do kind of like the vampire theme. This also, like, I do think that what this had going for it is that this has a bit of like different kind of shades. So aside from like pinks and reds, it also has like maybe a bit more blue leaning purples, and then we have a pop of green in this one. And I do think this has pretty good gradient. I think that if this is a palette that is later on available, I could maybe still pick this one up, but I do think that because this is probably a limited edition palette for Valentine's Day, so when this is probably gonna be gone, it's gone. But this is already available, so check out that are you able to get this either on their website or if you live in Europe from Monolith Shop. I do think this was like a bit under 60 euros, so it's not the most horribly expensive like of indie palettes. Another high-end brand that's trying to take my money, so apparently Dior is also redoing their highlighters. So Dior recently redid their bronzers. I've seen those in the store. I am drooling after those, but again, there are just so many other things I want to spend my money on, so I've been now keeping my distance from the bronzers, but now apparently they're doing highlighters also in the similar packaging. I do have to say, some of these highlighters look very beautiful. I'm looking at there's one pink tone one and then there's one champagne one. Yes, I probably don't need another champagne highlighter, but anyway, just as probably with the bronzers, these are probably also gonna be horribly expensive. So far, only thing I'm seeing is that they are gonna be spring 2025, so probably wait and see. These are probably gonna start coming to stores at some point, but so beautiful and probably very expensive when these are gonna be launching. Another indie release that was in the Monolith launch and has already launched on their website. This for some reason wasn't Valentine's themed, even though the launch kind of time would maybe make you think this would have been a good time to do Valentine's launches. So Fantasy Cosmetica indeed is doing something different than other brands. This might actually help in selling this particular palette. So they are expanding their 9 pans, and this is, I believe, called a Monk, the Monk palette. So Fantasy Cosmetica has this thing that they theme these 9 pans around like a popular fantasy role-playing game characters, so they are now doing the Monk. I do have to say this was very appealing. I'm not usually a person who goes for these warm oranges, particularly combined with like other very like warm tone shades, but I was like seriously eyeing for this a couple of moments, thinking that could this be the first Fantasy Cosmetica palette to try, because again this is one of those brands that have been on my to try list for the longest. But I did end up skipping this one because I think if this would have launched closer to summer, then this could have actually been the palette that I would have gone that okay, I'm gonna be trying out that one. This is probably because I don't think these 9 pans have been limited edition, so probably if this has sold out, they will restock it at some point. But I do actually like in terms of color stories, because I do think some of these 9 pan color stories have been more successful than others, but I do like the fact that how they went with the mustards and yellows and then the orange, and then you have this sort of like deep brown shades deepen up, and then the shimmers that they chose for this one. So I will give them kudos for this sort of color story and everything, but this time I decided to skip this one because I still don't think that I like the color story enough compared to other things. So Dieverune Cosmetics is coming out with, what was this actually called? Smitten palette, yeah. So they're coming out with a Smitten palette. Apparently this is also kind of meant to be a Valentine's release. This is maybe going to the the anti-Valentine's direction, that where it's like pink with a pink leaning palette with sort of grays and maybe a bit of like muted purples. I do think it's kind of nice of a color story. This is an indie brand that I have seen big mixed reviews about. Apparently the matte formula is something that a lot of people think that it's still maybe a bit some work. I don't know how the formula in this new palette is. I don't think I have watched any reviews of this one yet. This is already available on their website. I do believe this might come to the Monolith shop, but this wasn't in the Monolith launch that just happened when this video has already gone live. So it could be that because they said the next launch is going to be around end of February, beginning of March. So maybe on the next launch, because the Dieverune Cosmetics is a brand that has been stocked in my shop before. So this, if you live in Europe, maybe wait and see that is this going to be available on the next Monolith launch. But if you want to order this from US, this is already available. For me, again, it's maybe a bit goes to the more to grey leaning side, so for me this is something that I'm at least currently not interested in. Then I'm gonna talk about something that I sort of referred to in my previous video, but because these hadn't officially been revealed yet, I didn't want to like discuss these too much. But now that I think Wayne Goss in his channel revealed this, so I think these are now like officially launched. So Charlotte Tilbury is coming out with 9 pans. We discussed this. First of these 9 pans, it was the blue one leaked already somewhere around last year, and people were asking that, okay, what is the blue palette like? Because it had this sort of very cheap looking plastic cartridge, and some people were thinking that is this some kind of fake, but no, this is a real thing, and now we actually know the price. So one of these palettes is 60 euros. I'm not spending 60 euros for a palette that has this sort of flimsy, like it's probably is a very sturdy plastic coverage packaging, but for 60 euros, like if you are a high-end brand and you're charging 60 euros, like there are also like some of the more traditional luxury brands still do pretty hideous packaging also at the prices they charge, but I was just like thinking that no, like I discussed already this like on my last makeup news video, that if these would have been like around 40 euros, I would have been like that, yeah, that's very expensive for a 9 pan, but it's Charlotte Tilbury, so I could have kind of taken it, but for the packaging versus the price, I think 60 euros it's like horrendously overpriced. Even though the formula of these do look kind of nice, but at the end of the day, these are monochromatic 9 pans. You probably could get similar color stories at a less expensive price. Like, yeah, and the formula still doesn't look anything like that exceptional. So I think at some point probably if like expect to see this maybe in her, because Charlotte does these mystery boxes and maybe even on sale, because I don't think I have seen too much like hype or excitement around these, because I think like if she would have wanted to go with the monochromatic like trend, she would have had to done it before COVID, because just before the pandemic monochromatic palettes were very in, but now these feel just very overpriced and very old. So a Valentine's release that's not a palette, well it's a face palette but not an eyeshadow palette. So Benefit is coming out with Cheeky Love Letter Blush and Bronzer palette. I do actually like the packaging, it's kind of cute. I have two of the 4 shades of this one, because I did end up getting one of Benefit Cheek Trios as a Christmas present. So I'm not in a need to buy this one, because the Christmas trio had the Hula and it had the Villa, the Dandelion, and then the, what was this called? Pom-pom shade is something that weren't included in that one. But anyway, I don't need this one, and I do think that if you have a lot of Benefit face palettes, then you might have repeat shades. But I think this is still a pretty cute one, even though it is again kind of Benefit doing what they do a lot, which is that they recycle their face shades. But it's cute, but not something I need, but it's cute. So a product category of things that I bought. So Cosmic Beauty revealed last week that the Lovers palette, so this was their Valentine's palette. I have already bought this, so yeah, it's probably gonna take a bit while because it's coming from the UK and I didn't want to pay extra for the express shipping, because it would have been like 30 euros. So I chose to wait patiently to get mine. So this is already out. I have not noticed that did this actually sell out, so if you, by the time this video goes live, and if you're still eyeing this one, go to your website and see. I do think this was one of the like more successful Valentine's launches, in the fact that they had this sort of like warm pinky side, but then you have this sort of side that has this sort of more of muted blues and greens. I'm not usually the biggest fan of blues and greens, but this sort of muted colors are kind of something that I can get behind on. And I also do like the fact that they apparently are now having, I think this almost like has a 50-50, or maybe this still has, I think this has close to 50-50 matte to shimmer ratio, because when Cosmic Beauty started out, they did so that they had like a couple of shimmers, then at some point they started including a bit more shimmers, but I think this is the first palette where I think the ratio is almost split, and that is sort of my preferred method of having my eyeshadow palette, so I'm quite happy that we do get a nice variety of shimmers now. Can't wait to get this one, but it's gonna be taking some time. So a sneak peek, Huda Beauty is expanding her complexion line, so there's gonna be an easy bake setting spray coming out soon. She has I think the powders are in the same line, so it kind of makes sense that they're easy bake powders and then you have the setting spray or finishing spray. There's not much information about this one yet, that what it's supposed to do, but I do believe because the easy bake line is supposed to be about this sort of mattifying effect, so I think this might be something that's gonna be doing more mattifying rather than, for example, hydrating when you apply this one. Another Valentine's collection, so Glamshop has launched their Valentine's Day collection. I didn't have too high expectation for this one because I do remember that I wasn't that impressed with Glamshop's last year Valentine's collection. They came out with I think 4 or 5 pans and then there were some blushes. They actually like continue with that one. This year they had quads, but I'm actually unsure of the fact that are these the shades that are in the quads, or they're actually like existing, because at Glamshop you can buy individual eyeshadows, so I'm not actually sure that all those like existing shades. Then they have some lip glosses, and then there are more of these blushes in the similar packaging that they released last year. I think they're just new shades. I'm actually wearing almost like a full face of Glamshop because I finally managed to get the Glamshop stuff that I got during last Black Friday into my rotation, so in a few weeks time there's probably a review of what I'm wearing currently. But regarding this collection, it was pretty easy skip. There wasn't anything in this that interested me, but again I wasn't expecting too much because the collection last year for Valentine's wasn't also that interesting. Then I think the most disappointing Valentine's release, and I think a lot of people haven't been pretty happy about this. So by Beauty Bay, they usually do this, and this was kind of something that I was estimating on my last makeup news video, that they are going to be coming out with a 20 pan eyeshadow palette for Valentine's because they have done so before. And some of these have been very good, and this year unfortunately it's pretty bad. So as you can probably see from the picture, first question, where's the depth? And second question, why are we having so many beige browns? Like I've been like commenting almost everywhere thinking that where's the depth and why are we having so many beige brown shades? I would be having a very difficult time coming out with looks with, and I'm actually a bit afraid that a lot of these mattes and shimmers would look pretty similar on your eyelids no matter what would you try to do with them. Also, it's pretty random that the only deepening up shade they put here, there's like a couple of random purples here, and for me these purples, they don't go, because if you look at the, even though the shades are pretty muted and washed out in this one, but if you look at the other shades, it is quite of a neutral, almost pink like red leaning shades. So then when you have these couple of random purples that are actually already more in the like blue toned purples rather than being the more pink leaning purples, which might have actually gone with this palette, it just doesn't, like, I'm thinking that who on earth in the production line okayed this and said that yeah, we're gonna launch this for Valentine's Day. I was like initially thinking, because they were promoting this with the Daydream, like the palette is called Daydreamer, and they were like promoting this with the sort of lavender hazy dream, and I was thinking that okay, this is gonna be fun, but then when I saw the inside I was like thinking that the insides don't actually even match with the cover of this one, because when you look at the cover you would think that you're gonna get some kind of pinks and lilacs in this one, then when you open it up you're kind of looking at okay, we have some very barely muted pinks, and then you have some very random couple of like deeper purples, and then you have just beige browns. So this was an easy skip for me, and I think this is a palette that I would like buy something else for Valentine's. Don't buy this one. I think that you're probably just gonna be very disappointed with this one. Loreal is coming out with a infallible Blur-Fection loose powder. This is apparently already available in US. With Loreal it's a bit tricky. Some of their products seem to come to Europe first, and then some come to US first, and then it could take some time for, if they come to US first, come to Europe, because we just recently managed to get a couple of the new mascaras and the eyeshadow stick, and then the Luminize Glow blushes and the highlighting sticks, and I think those have been already available in US for like quite some time, so I don't have too high expectations when these are gonna arrive, but basically L'Oreal is doing loose powders. I'm actually now thinking that they have loose powders before. They definitely have had some kind of pressed powder in their line, but maybe they haven't had loose powders. Like Airy loose powder instantly brightens and blurs up for 24 hours. So it's in US dollars, it's $15.99, so it's not the most cheapest of the drugstore, but it's also not the expensive, so this goes quite to the like midpoint of drugstore powders. I'm gonna be waiting and seeing that if these come at some point to our country, maybe I could try out the pink powder. That might be interesting. Another brand that we're gonna be talking about the releases. First, let's talk about the ones that we actually have seen. So Moira is coming out with lip glaze oil plumpers, and if these are plumpers, that's gonna be an automatic no, because that means these are probably gonna string. They do have quite an extensive shade range. Apparently these are Max Lip Natural Peptide Complex Ginger Root. Okay, yeah, so that ginger root is probably the one that's gonna be the stinging and causing the plumping. And then they have some hyaluronic acid. If you like your plumping lip glosses or oils, this could be something to look into. And Moira is pretty decently priced, but these are ultimately skip for me because I don't want my lip products to hurt. Then the Moira product that I am a bit excited about. So Moira is coming out with 3 new eyeshadow palettes. It's actually been, they came out with one cool tone leaning palette during last year, and then they came out with 2 sort of all matte palettes. I'm still eyeing the sort of pink mauvish leaning palette. These ones on the other hand look to be that they are sort of shimmer, shimmer and matte palettes. I do have to say, at least based, I will try to get some kind of screen capture from each 3 of the palettes, but at least based on the sneak peeks when I'm looking at the video, all 3 of these palettes, one of them is a more grey, like a smoky grey leaning, one of them is a pink mauvish leaning, and one of them seems to be a more neutral leaning. But what I'm especially impressed about when I look at the video is that all the palettes, at least based on this like one video clip, there seems to be a very nice ratio from light to deep shades. So I'm waiting to see like more clear pictures of this one, but because Moira's products, like, it does seem to take some time for the new products to come to our retailers, but we have definitely gotten all the new products, so I'm very excited about these palettes, and hopefully they will fully reveal these soon, and hopefully I will be able to get these, because Moira's eyeshadow quality is pretty good and they're not that expensive, so yeah, something excited about from the more drugstore side of thing. Another sort of bigger palette, and this is again Valentine's. So Jolie Beauty is coming out with their Tainted, the palette is called Tainted palette, and I do think there are some other items in this collection, but I'm mainly gonna focus on the palette. So Jolie Beauty is a brand that I haven't tried because at least on their previous palettes they have included pressed glitters in them. I do think that in their last palette they might have gotten rid of the glitters, but I'm a bit unsure about that one. With this one, and the second reason why I haven't been that interested is that their palettes are very big, and this makes no exception. I do think that if this sort of red-purple Valentine's thing appeals to you, this could be something to look into, because I do remember that Jolie Beauty isn't also the most expensive of indie brands, but for me this is not appealing purely because I think this is a bit too big palette for my taste. But when is this gonna be? I think this is already available because I think they did the full reveal on the day it launched. This is available on their website. Jolie Beauty has been stocked on Monolith Shop before, but so far I haven't seen any announcement of the launch of this one, so wait and see if this is a brand that you're interested in. So Profusion is expanding their liquid blush range, so they're currently coming out with a shimmer version of this sort of liquid blush that has been actually pretty popular for them. I have reviewed this blush formula on my channel before. I think for me it was maybe too on the side that you had to build it a little bit to get it to work, but I do think I said that especially for a beginner this might be a good blush formula to use. I think this goes also to a category aside from the fact that I didn't like the matte version of this one, that this also is very, very sparkly. So considering that I'm a person who likes either a satin or a matte blush, so this is probably something that would also not suit my preferences in general. So far there also only seems to be 2 shades. Profusion is very inexpensive, so on dollars these are $5.99 each, and if Profusion is sold in your country, I do also think that their makeup generally, what I've seen, there isn't usually that much of a markup. So if you have liked this blush formula before but you want it in a glowier version, something like that is coming soon. Last release of the day. So Victoria Beckham is expanding their, I think these are technically quads. There's one of the shades bigger and then there's 3 smaller shades. My question is, when I saw this, that the blue, and especially the blue and the grey black palette in the upper row, I was thinking that didn't she have something like this already? The two on the lower bottom, the Olive and Night Flash, even those color stories, like one of them is a more olive leaning palette and the second one is a clearly like a traditional neutral leaning palette, but at least with those I could clearly see that even though this isn't a brand that I particularly follow, I did think that those were new, but the blue and black one I'm kind of looking and thinking that didn't she already launch these. These are gonna be... Oh yeah, so in these ones I don't know because it says that $75 US for the case and $50 US for the refill, because if you have gotten one of these cases before, these are refillable, so I think you can get the pants, like the pants section, you can somehow get it out of the one. So I assume the $75 US is that when you buy both the compact and the sort of product inside, but if you're just buying the refill then it's $50 US. This just isn't the kind of eyeshadow formula and style that I'm like appeals to me, and Victoria Beckham Beauty is one of those high-end brands that I haven't been just generally drawn towards, but I do know that especially with luxury beauty channels there are quite a few that are a fan of this kind of brand. When are these going to be available? Release date, apparently these are already available on pre-order on Victoria Beckham's own website, so if you are interested in either of these color stories you can do a pre-order, but there isn't a launch date yet, at least when I'm filming this one. So that was it for this week. I do say that it's definitely, as I said, a Valentine's season. I do think that in this video there isn't like, there were like, as I said, quite a few things that I was like admiring from afar, saying that that would be nice, but I am just because I just like did some purchases for like Valentine's themed releases already during this week, and there's like a lot of products that are kind of like in the looks nice category, but I want to spend my money on other things. But comment down below, have you bought any of these releases that I discussed about, or is there some other new releases that I didn't touch upon but you have already bought, or are you still, for example, on a no-buy, or is it, for example, that you're not maybe a fan of Valentine's Days and the Valentine's releases aren't appealing to you? If you like this video, push the like button and subscribe to the channel along in the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope you can see you soon in another video. Bye bye!